but we should be okay.
Yeah, they're gonna start introducing themselves very quickly, just their names, and you can start presentation. And you guys can ask questions during the presentation. It's okay with him. But if you want to wait till he finishes, you can, whichever you guys want to do. So let's go ahead, come closer because it's really hard to hear. This is the microphone, so talk right here.
أنا اسمي كامبري.
Oh, where are you from, Kimber?
أنا من Whitley County, Kentucky.
تشرفنا. مرحبا.
أنا اسمي ماركوس. أنا من Franklin, Kentucky. تشرفنا.
اسمي كورين. أنا من بولينج جرين كنتاكي.
أهلا وسهلا.
أنا اسمي بول. أنا من كيف سيتي كنتاكي.
مرحبا. وأنا التقيت بكوبي. مرحبا كوبي.
تفضل يا أستاذ حيرات.
So to start, I will just show you an introduction for me and for my country. And if you have any questions, please, you can stop me. You can wait until the end. Either way is fine. Please let me know. Can you give me permission to share, please?
Oh. Okay.
It should be in share screen or go over to right.
No. شكرا يا كول.
Right. That's good. I can share now. Okay. Okay.
Okay. شكرا.
Hey, let me know when you can see my screen, please.
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. Well, that's my name. And this is how my name is written in Arabic. اسمي حيدرة. عمري 24 سنة. I'm 24 years old. And I studied biology in the Damascus University. Biology in Arabic is علم الحياة. And now I live in Beirut, Lebanon since 2017. After I finished my university, I had to come here because of the security situation in Syria was very difficult. And we have a mandatory military service there. And if you're not studying and you are like healthy and you can go to the military, you have to go. And this is why I came to Lebanon. My hobbies, أنا أحب food. Not sure if it's a hobby exactly, but I really love food. And my hobby, I guess, is growing plants or growing vegetables, flowers, anything. I like to plant things. We have a beautiful weather here. Throughout the year, there's different things that you can grow. And I really love that. So zira'a is planting in Arabic or agriculture, if I can say that. And food, I'll tell you about my favorite dish in a bit. So I love camping and I love reading books, of course. My favorite kind of books is historical books regarding any subject. ألعاب الفيديو. أحب ألعاب الفيديو. I like video games and I play basketball now for almost since I was in school. I haven't been playing much in Lebanon because of work and other things, but I still manage to play sometimes. My father is an engineer. He's retired now, My mom is a nurse. She's also retired, but she's working some private clinics and private jobs. I have one sister, which is older than me, and one brother, and he's younger than me. And they are all still living in Syria, fortunately in a safe area that's very close to the mountain area in Syria, very close to the coastal areas. Um, and the city is called Hama. It's in the middle of Syria, but it goes towards the west too. This is my hometown. A couple of pictures. It's very known for agriculture. This is why I like to grow plants and things. And this is on the eastern part of Syria. It's very, very close to Iraq and Turkey. Mainly, it's a desert climate, but because this area has a lot of rivers, there's a lot of green scapes. And this is the symbol of the city, or one of the roundabouts. It's on the, like I can say, the doorstep of the city, and it resembles a seed because the city is very known for that. And it's called Ras Al Ain, which means the top of the fountain or spring because of the water. And this is my parents' hometown or city. It has a wonderful thing, which is these water wheels. They are on the river also. They are very big, as you can see. They are in the size of a building almost. They have something that I really like, which is the sound they make. They are made of wood, and because they're very old, they make this squeaking noise. And at night, it reaches to very, very long distances. It's always nice to hear its sound. But what was fun is some people used to climb these wheels, climb the first one, then the second one, then jump into water. But I was never able to do that. It always scared me because how high they are. It's mostly a mountain area. It's different from the city I was born in, which is almost a desert climate like. This one is very different. It's mountain, it's very cold. Like the summer is very short, around like maybe a month and a half, which is not that cold also. But yes, it's very different, but I do love it. We used to visit there only in the summer. So I don't know much about it. I didn't live there much. When my parents moved here, I actually had to move to university. So I lived in the capital of Syria, which is Damascus. This is the university. This is the administration office or building. But my classes used to happen in the older part of the university, which I really liked. The university has been there for a long time. It served as a part of an embassy before it was a university. Most of the buildings have these really 19th century building, which I loved. And we are the only faculty that we have a private, like a park, or how can I say it, yard. That's only for the students. That was really good too. This is the only island we have in Syria. It's called Arwad. We have a handful of islands, but they are very small. This is the only inhabited one. It's very close to the coast. If you're a good swimmer, you can basically swim there. And it's a fishing town. As you can see, there's not a lot of green spaces. Because it's very close, people just go to the mainland, grab their whatever they need, vegetable-wise, and there's a lot of fish markets at that area. The water is pretty low here. Sometimes it goes higher up. It covers this area. I went there only once, not by swimming, by a boat, and It was nice. It was the only island I've ever visited. And I went around with, it takes like maybe an hour and a half. It's pretty small. So that was really cool. I loved it. And these are the things I want to tell you about. And if you have any questions for me, please go ahead before we move on to the next part. Have any of you visited an Arab country before, or the Middle East? You guys should. You're learning Arabic and you're all really good. All right. So Syria in the Middle East is very close to Iraq, very close to Turkey. So we have Turkey on the north and Iraq on the east, and the Mediterranean Sea on the west side, and Jordan from the south. Okay, let me just show you the other thing, which is the festivals we celebrate. And then after that, one of you, if you would, tell me about one the two biggest festivals or holidays that you have or celebrate. All right.
A holiday that we have here in America is homecoming. It's basically like it's a football thing, and there's a huge parade.
And when is it, in the summer or in the winter?
It is in the fall.
Right. Very nice. Is there a specific tradition for that? Do people do something specific for that day?
There's a bunch of floats that go around places and they throw out candy.
Nice. I like that. I like candy.
Not a very good example of. That's not something everybody does. A real holiday that a lot of people do in America is Halloween, and everybody dresses up as crazy, scary things, and then go out and knock on strangers' door and ask for candy.
Wow, I like that candy is also involved, but I like the Halloween idea. Okay, so does that a thing that also like adults do, or I mean just like
my family personally, we do family costumes, so we all dress up. But a lot of people just, it's just the kids. Most of the time it's just kids.
Oh, I like that. Halloween seems nice.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to start with the national holidays. The biggest two is the Independence Day and the Murder's Day, which is typically just people don't actually celebrate, like nothing happens at houses, but there's like some officials that would visit this place, which is a symbol for the unknown soldiers that fall in battle. And it's just TV shows and trivias and things like that. It's the same for Independence Day, but much more fireworks in Independence Day, which I like. Moving to the religious holidays is Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. And so Eid al-Fitr, this is the part that comes after Ramadan. So when the month of Ramadan is finished, we have Eid al-Fitr that goes on for 3 days. That marks that we are able to eat again during the day. And my favorite one out of these two is Eid al-Adha, the one that not after Ramadan. It's after Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr. In about like a month and a half, something like that, maybe a little bit more. And it's actually very close now. It's in a couple of days from now. And in Eid al-Adha, it's mostly about giving and thinking about other people. what we do is of course, we visit the family. We get together, cousins and everybody who can make it will come, and we do a lot of homemade sweets. So these big parts are we call them discs, but they're like more like cookies, a bit crunchy but soft from the inside. Um, and I love these ones a lot more than this one, which is ma'moul. Maybe you have heard of it before. It's pretty famous for like outside of the Arab world, but it's dough filled with nuts, maybe walnuts or pistachios or different kinds of nuts, and the Arabian coffee, which is very, very bitter and very strong. This is why we serve it in small like cups, and it's basically 1 or 2 sips. You can have more if you want, but usually this is how it's served. And it's served in a unique way, not done other than Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr, which is someone will grab the pot, if I can say that, and we'll go around with maybe 3 or 4 cups, and we'll go around the room. We'll pour you your cup, you take your sip, finish it, and give the cup back so he can move on to the rest of the room. Because in Eid al-Adha, people get together and there's a lot of people most of the time. This is why it goes around. And the final part, or the big part about the Eid, is the sacrifice, or it doesn't necessarily have to be lamb or any specific animal or a specific amount of anything. The idea is like giving out food for people. So when people, for example, will sacrifice a sheep, they would take very, very little amounts or not at all from it and distribute the rest of it for the neighbors or anyone who they know about that are less fortunate. And I used to really love this part because when we do that, I'll probably go with my cousin or with my friend or whoever I'm spending the time with, and we'll go together and go around the neighborhood, give out the food, and so basically just spending out the time in outside of the house in the street, playing with my friends and giving out food, which is very, very I don't do that anymore, but I remember these things from I was young, and it was really, really fun. And another thing that's specific for Eid al-Adha is the amusement parks. As you can see, they're not very big because they mostly move around. So they come during the Eid, then they leave when it's done. So it's mostly set up in big parking lots or in big streets, for example. And there's all kinds of, not very big ones, but swings and trains and all of that, but they are kind of smaller. And visiting the grandparents will always be the first thing to do in Eid al-Adha. There's a catch there because usually the tradition is to your family members, whoever is older than you, if your brothers are much older than you, they will give you money, and which is the gift for the Eid. And so your grandparents will give you, your uncles, your cousins, anyone that's older than you will give you a small amount of money, but they add up in the end. And so you go and spend it in amusement parks, and for me personally, on shawarma too. And the biggest gift, mostly for my family at least, used to come from the grandparents, from my grandmother and grandfather. And the food, of course, about that holiday, like I said, there's no specific kind of food, whatever people can cook or do. The idea is to give back. For my family in particular, we used to do chicken or lamb. Fish also is there, but the fun thing is this thing. I'll tell you a little bit about this. So as you can see, it's a very big pot. we see the man here and his wife or the woman in the picture. He's actually cooking or shoveling out the food with a shovel because it's very big. So what this is it's wheat, usually done like without salt or sugar. You can take your plate and add sugar also or salt to it. You can have it savory or sweet. And people would cook it outside their houses because it wouldn't fit in a kitchen or anything like that. So in each neighborhood or maybe in each street, you would find a big pot like this, and people are cooking this. We call it sli'a, but it's wheat. Sli'a because it's boiled. Anyway, so you find this very big pot, and basically you can just stop at any of it of these pots, whoever is cooking, and you have your plate with you, or they might give you a plastic one, but mostly you have your plate. And yeah, they just pour you a little bit, and you can do your sugar or salt with it. It was really fun because when sometimes it's during the summer, Eid al-Fitr, like it changes times throughout the years. So when it's in the summer, you're spending time with your friends outside, you're playing, you're having fun, and you need a snack. You just go and get your snack, if it's sweet or sour or savory. And the sweets also continues with different kinds. So this setup right here, you would find it, this one looks a bit fancy, but it's the idea of it. This setup with the coffee and the sweets, we'll find it at each house, especially in Eid al-Fitr. Eid al-Fitr is known for sweets more a little bit than Eid al-Adha, but they are both there at each time. And my favorite is this one, which is a tube of thing that's made, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not very good at what it's made. I'm very good at eating it. But it's made out of rice and cheese. And in the middle, it's stuffed with something that's like a cream, but it's a bit thicker. It tastes delicious. If you see that somewhere, I recommend you try it, if you like sweets. And of course, this is baklava, plenty of nuts. And one of the traditions for Eid al-Fitr in Syria was watching theater and international plays, but mostly the theater is famous from Egypt in Syria. I'm not sure about the rest of the Arab world, but the Egyptian theater is very, very popular in Syria. And this is one of the plays that are a classic for that time. It's called مدرسة المشاغبين, which means like ممكن تساعدني أستاذ حسين بس مش قادر أترجم الكلمة صحيح.
صعبة. Culture. So this is one of the classical old play. It's a comedy that the whole Arab world watches, or they still actually watch. Set up in a classroom environment where most of the students are bad students, and they are just being mean to the teacher and everything. It shows how the education system used to be and everything. It's probably not going to be funny to you, but it's funny to us. We enjoy it a lot. Of course, doesn't really support what the students are doing, but it's just for fun, right? So, madrasa, you know madrasa, right? What's madrasa? School. Mushahid is like, you know, like Marcos, for example. No, Marcos is good. Yeah, like a class clown, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's basically about this bunch of guys who are not being able to graduate high school and have been there for a long time. And they do a bunch of things. They give a hard time for the teacher, and eventually they learn their lessons. There are some international plays like Cats, but mostly it's the Egyptian ones that are pretty popular. And that's it, you guys. Thank you for your time, and go ahead if you have any questions for me.
So I will start. I know you live now in Lebanon, right?
Yes,
And you said your parents still live in Syria?
that's true. They live in the. Hmm?
What part? Is it like where it's controlled by the regime, the current president? Or is it in the other part, which is controlled by who? You can tell us.
So the part that my family live in is controlled by the government, which is at this time most of the country is controlled by the government, controlled by the regime, except for some parts in the east. And like I said, fortunately, the city is safe now. For a long time, it has been nothing major happened inside the city, but the city was always shelled or bombed from other cities, from the surrounding cities around it. But fortunately, it's much better now. There are a lot less roadblocks all over the place. There was a lot during the last 10 years. So in this area, it's much better now, thankfully. And I was I wanted to show you a picture of the map, but I can't find it now. But just to get you a little bit familiar with the location of Syria. But when, yes,
Get closer so you can hear.
Do you miss your life back in Syria, or do you think it worked out? Do you think you're where you are in Lebanon? Do you like where you are, or do you miss your life from before?
so the first couple of years I was in Lebanon were very, very difficult. It's still hard, but it's definitely better. And I do miss everything about Syria. I miss my friends. I miss my family. I miss the places I used to spend my time in. And I wish I would be able someday to go back. In Lebanon, it's not, fortunately, very, very, very different than Syria because it's very close. So the language is the same, but there are still some discrimination against Syrians because of political issues that happened in the country a long time ago. And fortunately, I am able now, with the help of Natakallam, to sustain a job and have income because it's kind of difficult in Lebanon because for some reasons of discrimination, sometimes just things not working out. But yes, it's better now, fortunately. And I am looking to continue my studies in the future in hopefully someplace other than Lebanon. Thank you for your question.
I know they have a lot of questions, but specifically about the situation in Syria. Can you very quickly tell us what happened?
Yes. So in the beginning, like I said, I was born and raised in the eastern part of Syria, which my parents lived there because they worked there. So in the beginning, around 2012, when things were starting to get very dangerous, we were living in that city. And so we started to see the different, I don't know what to call them, but different forces, different troops for different sides coming into the city with their equipment, with their cars and weapons, and they were starting to put roadblocks in our city. And some engagements happened with the military and the police, but nothing major happened. They just, I don't know, some arrangements happened or anything. I'm not exactly familiar with the details. But after maybe a couple of days of fighting, they allowed us to leave the area, like the civilians. They opened up the road for us to leave. So we packed what we can take, like from our home, and we went out the city. And we had to walk to a certain place, which were allowed for cars. Not sure from which side, but it was allowed for cars to come and pick us up, which was, we walked around 6 hours to get out of the city and that area. And fortunately, we were able to make it into the bus and leave the area to the other city I showed you, which is in the mountains. And other families were getting to different places, but mostly in that time, which now like been almost 9 years, people were going to the capital mostly because it was the safest part in Syria. It's the biggest city. It has the most vital systems, vital buildings. So most of the people were heading to Damascus. Damascus had a population of 3 million people, but after the war, there was 6 million people that live in Damascus city. It almost doubled in population. After being in that city, this supposedly a little bit safer, nothing happened within the city, like I said. I stayed there for 1 year, not a long time, only to finish. It was my final year in high school. So I graduated high school. During that year, there was a lot of injuries, a lot of deaths because of the surrounding areas was under the control of the city I was in was controlled by the regime. The cities that around us was controlled by different sides. There was some from Al-Qaeda, there was some from Free Army, there was some from ISIS. There was a lot of sides fighting in that area. So some bad things used to happen, like occasionally, not all the time. We were lucky with that, but fortunately, we're all safe and nothing happened to us. But now it's much safer and better.
Okay, great. All right, go ahead.
What do you do for work and in your new place?
Now I work mostly with نتكلم. I teach Arabic and I translate. I do translation sometimes. The first couple of years I came to Lebanon, I used to work in restaurants and bars. I had some experience because I used to work in school in Syria also. Thank you for the question. I work nothing related to biology, which is a little bit sad. I like biology.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. You have a question? No? Okay, somebody else? Hold on, Kendra. Okay, go ahead, someone else.
Oh,
Why'd you go to Lebanon afterwards? Like, why not any other country? Why Lebanon?
Lebanon was the closest country to Syria. It's the easiest one to cross among the other ones. So let me just share with you this picture just to give you an idea. So this is Syria right here, right? This is it. So we have Turkey from here, and we have Iraq from here, and Jordan, and this small blue thing is Lebanon. And I used to live on this side of Syria, on the eastern side. This is early in the war, but we had to move almost right here, very close to the Lebanese borders. and it was the cheapest thing that I like. It was the only thing that I can afford is to go to Lebanon, and it was the safest borders to cross, other than Aleppo, other than the borders with Turkey, which is around Aleppo, right here. Aleppo was a very damaged and very like a lot of battles happened in Aleppo. It was a very brutal war that happened. It's the most damaged city in the world. And Iraq was on the other side, and the situation of Iraq is still very not stable, especially at the borders, close to the borders, because there's a lot of ISIS in Syria still around this area, right here, and they have also a part of Iraq around this. So this area right here is under their control. And I came to Lebanon to leave, actually, not to stay here. But unfortunately, acquiring visas is very difficult for these days, especially for Syrians and other nations, of course. Syria not the only country. But yes, Lebanon was the quickest and easiest answer. I had to leave very quickly after I finished, and this is why I chose Lebanon.
Are there any, like, the regime, I think, is that what it's called, right?
Excuse me?
Were they like trying to keep people from leaving Syria, or were you allowed to just leave?
I was able to do some formal papers to get out of the country officially, and I sorted some things before I go, in order to be able to cross legally, not to be crossed like unofficially, or to be smuggled into the country. Because if I was smuggled into Lebanon, that would make it very difficult for me inside Lebanon to even harder than already is, to find work or to find a house to rent or anything like that. But yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Other questions?
What's your favorite thing? What's your favorite thing about Lebanon?
I love the part that it has a lot of ancient history. It has a lot of ruins, a lot of civilizations that lived here. And this was also my favorite part in Syria. We have a lot of ruins everywhere, old columns, old statues, and this is my favorite part in Lebanon too. And that it's pretty small, so you can go from the mountain to the sea very quickly. That's very nice also.
Other questions? Yes. Go ahead, Cole.
Sorry, Cole.
Okay, anybody else? All right, well, if you guys don't have any questions, Cole, do you have any questions, please? You want to ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
كيف الجامعة في سوريا? What's the university like in Syria?
It's pretty standard for the Arab world. Usually, we have the university I studied in. It's very big, and it's in different places in the city. So my department was related to the scientific and research side. So it was in a part that's very nice, like I showed you in the picture. It's very old, and the halls, I think they are bigger than the ones you have in the US, or the system that you have. So my class wasn't that big. We were 100 students in the class. This is not considered a big class. But for example, in English literature, there's huge halls, like it's 500 students, like the big editor. I can't pronounce that word, but the big, very big halls. And yeah, it's pretty standard. It's boys and girls. It's It goes for a long time. So you might have class at 8 a.m. and you finish at 8 p.m. It's very, very long hours, depending on your study. Yes, and very crowded. Most of it. Yes.
Just kind of random, but where did you learn to like speak English so well? Did they teach you English when you're in school, like growing up?
So in Syria, we learn English from the third grade when I was at the third grade, but now people learn it. It's in school from the first grade. So I did learn it in school, and listening to music and watching TV shows, which are very, very popular here, helped me a lot.
Okay, thank you.
This is very good.
Great question.
Yeah. Any other questions? One more?
Okay, I'll just show you a couple of pictures of the older parts of the city. Not too long. I'm not going to take too long, just a couple. Okay. Just to give you a feel of the older parts of the city. So this is the Citadel of Aleppo. It's very, very nice because it's in the middle of the city and it's elevated above the ground. So when you're up there, you can see the whole city if you go around the castle, and it's very big. It's the biggest castle and the best shape is Aleppo's castle. This is before the war, of course. After the war, it's been very, very damaged from a lot of sites, unfortunately. But this is how the older city would look like. The streets are very narrow, very small. Most of it don't allow cars inside. And this is a restaurant actually, but this is how the doors look like. And the floors, people decorate the streets sometimes because they're small, they decorate it with different things. And I showed you this picture. A lot of citadels in Syria all over the place because it's very ancient and a lot of civilizations lived in this area. This is a citadel, it's in the mountain in Latakia, which is a coastal city. This is also a city in Latakia, which is very nice because you can see the sea and the mountain very close. This is also a city that was buried under the ground, and this is where they found the first complete alphabet that's been put on rocks or paper or anything. It's the first complete alphabet that was ever found. This is the piece of stone, if I can say, the stone they found it on. And the place is called Ogaret. So this is called Ogaret alphabet. This is the only this is the only bridge we have in Syria. It's very small, only for people. And this is on the eastern part where the desert is, but this is one of the biggest rivers we have, so it doesn't show a lot in this picture. Some of the statues. And so this is the most like city with ruins that we have. It's also in the eastern middle part of Syria. It's called Tadmor. And it's as you can see in the picture, it's a whole city, but nobody lives there actually. It's just ruins. And there's a lot of pillars and doorways, but unfortunately it's very damaged now. So all of these columns you probably can't find now. It's mostly broken or destroyed like this. And it's been heavily looted. It had a lot of museums and ruins that are still in position, but it's been looted heavily, which is very, very sad because this is thousands of years of history. This is one of the famous queens that stood up for the Roman Empire in the area. She's called Zenobia. She's very loved and mentioned in Syria a lot because of her determination and and Dar'a, which is in the southern part, it's very close to Jordan. It has this very big Roman theater, if I can say, or stadium. But the nice part about this is it still hosts a lot of festivals and music shows. and it's really nice at night when they do very nice work with the lighting and all, with the equipment, and it looks really good. I want to show you the ruins that are in the streets before we. Oh, this is cool actually. This is one of the. It's in Guinness record. This is one of the big walls, or one of the biggest walls that are completely made of recycled materials. And what's really nice about this wall is sometimes you can find a whole complete things, like a whole bike that's put in the wall, which is really nice, or like a heater or anything like that. And this is a wall for a school, and they also did the roof, the ceiling, you can see here. But not all schools are like that. Yeah. This is one of the biggest roundabouts in the capital. This is here the National TV building, and this is the Opera House right here on the left, and this is the symbol of Damascus city, which is the sword. This is how the old city in Damascus looks like. It has the doors around. It has 7 doors, and it's within walls, and these walls have 7 doors. This is 3 of them. Different. This is another one, and this is the eastern door. It's called the eastern door. I used to live here, so this picture, I used to live like right on the left side of this picture, which is this alley right here, and my house was in this street, just a little bit behind this park. It's very nice. It's very old. But what I think about now is, after a while, when you live in such a place that has so much history and ruins all over the place, I stopped looking at them, because I used to see them every time I'm going to university or to school, and you just stop looking at them, or you stop, spending time standing in your place and looking at the details. I think about that now. This is the Citadel of Damascus. This is the front of the Citadel, and this is at the very end. They kept it like this. They just did the, like structural reinforcements, but they didn't renew it or do anything to it, other than the front gate, which was renovated. So ruins like this one right here, this is the remains of the Jupiter temple from the Roman Empire right here. This is actually the market, or the market entrance. And I used to go this way to go to school. I used to live in the old city, and the university is the urban part, or the modern part, if I can say that. This is the same pillars, but in a closer angle. This is on the right side, and the market is just up ahead. And this is one of the most important historical buildings that we have, is the Omelette Mosque. It's very big. What I like about it is there's like a part of a mosque on one side, and there's the church bell and the church tower right on the other side of the building, the same building, because it's been here for a very long time, and there was a lot of civilizations and religions that passed this area, which I found really nice. This is the biggest cathedral we have. It's very close to the mosque, about 5-minute walk, and this picture doesn't do it fair, but it's very big. And it's called also the Cathedral of Olive Trees, because there are so many around it and inside this cathedral. I used to work in front of it. There's a lot of restaurants and bars in this area, and I used to work just in front of it. This is some pictures from the inside. It looks a lot like the Omelette Mosque in so many angles. I've been inside only once, and it's wonderful. A lot of crafts and hand made things are in this market. So this shop, actually, I remember it used to do some kitchenware. It sells spices and does some kitchenware that are usable. But this one on the other side, this is only for like souvenir kind of stuff. You don't actually use. This is the market that we were talking about, the entrance a little bit earlier. It has a roof. It's called Alhamidi. It's very old also. And when I was saying like candy all the time, that seems nice. I really love candy. This is my favorite part of the market. And it's this place. It's a part of the bigger market. It's an alley in the market, which is dedicated for spices and sweets like this. And what was really nice is when you're passing by or walking around the market, everybody is giving you samples to get you to buy something. And so if you're hungry, you're gonna be full when you end your trip. Some of the ancient buildings also. So yes, back to the question. My favorite part about Lebanon is like Syria, that having so many ancient things and old history everywhere you look.
Any other questions? No? Oh, well. شكرا جزيلا يا أستاذ حيدر. Thank you very much for your time, for all the explanation. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure the students did too.
Thank you all for your time and for your listening. And I want to apologize again for the time confusion. Please forgive me, and hopefully I will see you again in the future.
شكرا. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.
Have a good day all. Bye.